Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today we're going to do a knife-only carving of some whimsical pumpkins. We're going to carve some nice fall decor. It'll be knife-only, but we're going to be able to use a V-tool to show you how to do certain things if you want to. If you don't have a V-tool, you won't need one. You can do it without. I'm going to show you how. These are our whimsical pumpkin fellas, and they're looking absolutely fantastic. Look at the sadness in this dude's eyes. I mean, he is just pitiful in all the right ways. Absolutely, I love his eyes. I love that face. And then these guys here, look at the mean mugging little eyes this guy's got, right? He is vicious, Machiavellian even. Machiavellian. And then the goofiness of these guys' eyes, right? If you notice in these two in particular, right, and you say, man, Johnny, I feel like I've seen that style of carving before. You absolutely have. I am imitating or emulating the eyes of pumpkins that Cody Bonham has done here, and the underbite and that big crosshair eyes right there of Tony Tanev over on Instagram. I am emulating the work of those who inspire me, of works that I enjoy and I want to emulate to get better at. That's something we should all be doing. I want to make sure I identify that to you before you get into this, so you know, hey, Johnny's doing the same thing that you might be doing, right? I'm emulating the work of others in these carvings. I'm going to show you how to do them today. So it's going to be knife only. We're going to flip the camera around and we're going to jump right into it. Let's do it. This is a 2" by 2" 4" tall block. We're going to come down 1 1/8 of an inch, right about there. This doesn't have to be perfect. That's going to be how far down our stem goes, and we're going to transfer that line all the way around the block, because that's going to be the top of the pumpkin and where the stem starts. Taking that line all the way around like so. Now on the top of the block, we need to find center. And the easy way I find to find center is just to draw from corner to corner, corner to corner. You don't just do corner to corner. You can just go straight down the middle, straight down the middle. However you want to do it, find center, okay? From that center line, we're going to go 1/8 of an inch up and draw a line across here, and then from that center line 1/8 of an inch forward, and then draw a line there. Okay, that's going to be our stem, and we're going to come about midway from the center line to the edge, about midway out. That's going to be the end of it, and then the other side is going to go all the way over, and we're going to wind up trimming that side in. So it's going to go all the way across on one side. All of this is going to be gone. This is going to be gone. This is going to be gone. The only thing we're keeping is this guy right here in the middle. This section is what we're going to keep, like so. And if you want to, you can transfer that line down like so. You can figure out where that line is going to be at. It's going to be right about there. So all of this is going to get removed all the way across. Same thing for here. Right about there is where that line is going to be. So all this can get moved all the way across. And same thing, like you get right through there, like that's really easy. You're gonna remove all of that. You can remove all of this section. So there's a big block here that's gonna get removed to get to that. That's a lot of digging, a lot of carving to get that out of there. But really, that is the only measurements we're gonna do to start this block. So, carving glove is on to protect myself. Get a thumb wrap for your offhand. Carving gloves on our left hand. A little bit of thumb wrap on my right thumb, and I'm going to be using my Basswood forged knife today. It doesn't matter which knife you use. I'm going to use a rough out knife and do all of this with a rough out knife. If you happen to have a detail knife, you could use one. If you happen to have one, I'm going to let this one out. We might want to use it maybe on the eyes, but you don't need to use it. You could do everything with a rough out knife, and I'll show you how to do that. So, all right, so I'm going to start, and it doesn't matter which side is going to be the front for us. If you take a look at this guy here and this guy, you can see the guy on the left looks very square. Okay, he looks very blocky compared to the guy on the right. The difference here is I carved this guy in the block like so. And it's easy to not think in the proper kind of dimensions to get this guy as deep as you might want to if you're carving it front on the square of the block. Whereas this guy, the same measurements, but he is on this corner right here. So that stem is working back in that direction there. And so he's on that corner and he looks a bit rounder. But you can see kind of, there's that blocky shape. It's just easier to hide and not see by carving in the corner. are making your guy look, the face on the corner, I should say. So when we get to that point, we'll discuss that again. So to start with, I'm going to start taking these hard corners off with my push and slice cut, right? I'm going to start in the middle, push in and slide up and take off about like what, a quarter of an inch? Not a quarter of an inch, maybe a little bit more of a quarter of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch off of that corner. I'm going to do this all the way around because we're going to kind of make a cylinder first with our carving. Rounding off all these hard edges, all these hard corners here. If you take off a little bit too much on one side, that's just going to add character to your carving. More character, not less. So there's nothing wrong with that. So you can see I got kind of an octagonal shape going. Now I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing to the back end here, or to the bottom. Be really careful here because depending on how your wood grain is going, you might want it splitting there. So you can see it kind of ripped right there in that section. I'm just going to carve that off. So be mindful of that as I go down here. Don't try to take off too much at once. Little slices will do you. Same thing here. Bringing that around. And then the final corner. That one's splitting, so I need to be more careful in that corner here. Alrighty, so we got an octagonal shape kind of going on. Now what we want to do is we're going to go around and we're going to take all of our saw marks off all the way around. Before I get too far into that, I'm going to retransfer my lines to these corners here so that when we remove those saw marks, our line is going to still be there where we can see it. There we go. All right. So I'm going to start by taking off this corner here and then do the same thing on the other side and then right up the middle like so to try to round that off a bit, okay? Same thing, flipping around to the back side here. I'm starting to split too much right there. You see how it's starting to get deeper as I go? It's pulling the knife deeper because that's the way the wood grain is working there. So I'm going to stop, change up a little bit, do that bottom half first, and flip it around and see if I can get down to it without chipping off more than I want to. Okay? Always be mindful of what your knife is doing in the wood, what it's trying to do. And we've rounded it off pretty good. We're going to keep going around and keep rounding this off, but be mindful of that wood grain and what it's trying to pull your knife into, because it might try to pull your knife into something deeper than you want to. Flipping it around. Working the top section now. There we go. Rounded that off pretty good. Next section. Start to pull too deep right there. You see how it's gotten deeper and deeper real quick? I'm going to flip that around. Come from the other direction. Like so. Some folks who are better than I am can tell the wood grain direction in like, I can tell it's going top to bottom, but they can tell if it's going a little bit in or a little bit out before they put their knife in. Usually I have to put my knife in and feel it and then know I need to correct it. So if you're wondering how do I recognize that beforehand, Johnny, that's pretty difficult. There's a splitting. I noticed that afterwards, and I start cutting sideways there to try to fix it. I'm usually correcting after the fact. And sometimes that changes the look of a carving. Sometimes that makes him look a little bit funkier one way or the other. That brings a little whimsy into the carving, I think, and I don't mind it too much. I shouldn't have carved that section off because that was where my mark was. Let's transfer the marks around. And we could have waited to do the marks until we got all these saw marks off, and that would have worked just fine too. So if you do that, don't worry about it. Like so. And like so. Now I want to point out too, look at this. This is not a perfect circle. It is absolutely not. But it's roundish mostly. And all of this is now roughed with a knife, and none of it is the from the bandsaw or whatever it was that they used to cut it at the sawmill. Why is that important? Because parts of the carving that have been hit with a knife take paint and stain differently than parts that have been hit with the bandsaw. So this section down here is going to take it differently than the side section here will. So we want to make sure we get every piece of the carving all cleaned up with a knife, because that way it'll be uniform when you go to paint it. All right, now transfer that knot line again around all the way. Okay, so now we got a lot of wood we want to take off in this top section. We're going to work on that now to set in where exactly our stem is going to be before we get on working on the pumpkin itself. So what I'm going to do here is, rather than just scoop in and up, we're going to make it a little bit easier on ourselves, and we're just going to do some deep V cuts all the way around the carving, like so. So I'm pushing in from one side and then pushing up from the bottom and just making that knife meet at that V, at that point there, and making chips in here all the way around. If you get a little bit off from where your line is, just kind of angle it back up till you get back up to where your line is supposed to be. Angle it back up. And if your pumpkin's a little bit lopsided, maybe that's just his personality. Maybe he's a lopsided pumpkin. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Not all pumpkins are perfectly straight. Some of them are a little stumpy and a little bit misshapen. If you don't think that, then maybe you haven't been to a farmer's market recently. Maybe it's been a while since you've been to a pumpkin patch. There we go. And just keep going all the way around, like so. If you want to, you can really get in there and deepen this up, but you don't necessarily have to. We don't need to make this a perfectly clean line through here either. But like so, it's about what we wanted to do. Now, from this section, this allows me to get my knife in here a little bit easier, and I can start taking off larger sections using that, what's the way to call it? That piston cut, not piston, that pivot cut, right? That fulcrum cut. I'm going to use that thumb and I'm going to fulcrum that knife up and out like so, not pushing real hard and losing control of the knife. I'm going to get this knife hooked underneath that edge, put my thumb out, and I'm going to rotate this. This makes it easier to get larger chunks of wood off at a time in a controlled manner that is not going to lose control of the knife. Look how far my knife goes. Oh my gosh, I've lost control. I'm not going too far away. And so I'm not endangering myself by losing control of the knife in a way that's going to be pointing that sharp, pointy thing at me. And that's the goal here, to not get hurt while we do this. All right, so still working my way around here, taking off large chunks. By the time I get to this point, it's moving a little bit easier, and I can kind of swoop up from down below, going all the way up like so. I'm still using that fulcrum cut with my thumb out there and rotating on that thumb as I do this. Don't get too quick on what you're doing if you think that you're going to wind up catching your thumb or catching your hand. So you want to watch out for that hand being too close here. And you see how far in I've gotten pretty good. So let's go to the other side. Let's do this here as well. Keep on keeping on. Look at that. We're making good progress. Now we're going to work on this little bit right here on this side. Probably not going to take too much. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. So now we need to start working in these wide corners. We need to bring that out to have this flat as it comes down, like you can see right there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start pretty far out here. I'm not going to start all the way in. I'm going to start probably like right here and start cutting in from the top just a little bit and then coming in the side and making just a little bitty channel, not much. And now I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to keep doing that. Each time I'm going to get a little bit deeper and get a little bit deeper. I'm creating a shelf, and as I get in there, at first I'm doing it really small, but I can start getting bigger chunks off as I go because now I got this shelf to cut into, which makes it a little bit easier to get several slices at once. See what I did? So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So see, I'm getting pretty good. I'm almost flat up in there now, right? I'm making good progress. Let's try to do the other side. So a little bitty chip at first. We'll deepen it. Deepen it. A little bit more. I'm at that point where I can probably get 1, 2, 2, 3. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. Good progress. God, this guy's going to be fun. He's going to be neat. So I'm going to work this corner out here around in as well. Okay, I want to bring that in. Like that. Now, I don't know if I said this yet or not, but in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see the overlay. That overlay is this carving that I'm working on right now. It's not one of those other ones. It is exactly this carving. The reason that's significant is because if you see any cut, you know exactly where I'm going by looking at this carving and looking up here in the top left, and you'll see, okay, that right there ends up looking like this. I can see how he got there now. I really like that, and I hope you do too, but use that as a reference as we're going through here, okay? Now, I'm going to look at this from the side here, right? I can tell that this side here is further out than that side in the back. I've got more room in the back than in the front, so I want to bring that front side in a little bit. And what I could do is, here's the thing, right? There's a stem. I can have it cocked out a little bit to the front or a little bit to the back. So if I want to, I could bring it in the bottom and take a little bit off the top, and it would kind of angle that stem out a little bit. Just something to think about if you want to. You could angle it one way or the other. And that way, if you're making multiples of these, you've got options for which way that stem is going to lay, you know? So for right now, I'm just going to bring it in all the way. Just make it flat, straight up and down. But do not get stuck thinking that you just have to replicate my carving. This should be a guide for you to create something new and original and fresh, and not just a replication of what it is I'm doing. Absolutely do that. If that's what you want to. If that's where you're at right now with your skill level and you're just going to replicate, perfect. You're welcome to it. You do you. But as you get better at this, and as you learn more, you should be trying to expand and do things. Well, how can I add a little bit of flair to that? How can I make it a little bit more complicated? How can I make it a little bit more uniquely me? Let's take a little bit more off. Now here I'm doing that fulcrum cut, but I'm using the wood and I'm rocking the knife on the back of that wood. See, using that wood as the fulcrum point right there to chisel that stuff off a little bit. So I've really thinned that out now. Nothing wrong with that at all. We can make a thinner stem or a thicker stem, whatever size stem we want to make. Okay. All right. So I think that's probably the width we want to go. I like the look of it. Now for this stem, what I'd like to do is I'd like the stem to come, like this is the center of the carving, right? I'd like the stem to kind of come out, up and around, like that. Kind of like that thing going on, right? Which means that stem is going to come out here down there. So I need to take all of this wood out, that wood, and that wood. You can kind of see, I just drew a spiral in there, okay? And I'm just going to move around it. So I'm just going to have a big circle here with a little bitty jut coming down. And I'm going to draw these lines in a little bit darker just to make sure those of you playing the home game can see those real well. You see that? So the X marks where we're removing wood, right, like so. That's what we're looking at to make the stem, okay? So I'm going to start right here in the corner. I'm going to come in and just try to snatch that really out of there. Round it off a little bit. Just taking little V cuts in there, right? Little V cuts, like so. Not too bad. I'm going to do the same thing on the top, but not V cuts. Now we're just going straight across that top, like so. You take those hard corners off right there, and like so. Off the top of this one, the last vestiges right there of our sawmill cuts or our sawmill marks. Now, I need to take a lot off of this front side. So I'm going to come right out here. And I left all that wood there because that was a lot that you can choose to do something with if you decide to do something like this guy right here, okay? Look at it like this. So this one, I drew all the way up and over and down, so I used a lot of this wood that's out here, and I carved the center out. And on the screen, I have pop up and show you how I did that. I used a gouge to take the inside of that out right there, right through that section there. So that's an option you can do if you want to go that route and have this guy with that kind of off the center kind of thing. And you can make that as thin as you want to, as thick as you want to. You want to go thinner and wirier, I don't know how to, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Don't judge me. More wiry, like. So I'm going to be doing this kind of little guy though. So we're going to keep taking some wood off right here. I'm going to try to work this in with little stop cuts. Bringing that bottom in, working my way back in there. Working my way downtown. What? Sorry. Just like so. We got a lot of that wood off. Now we need to take a little bit more off of this bottom section here. Come in like so. Kind of carve up to it. So it's just stop cut. So I'm carving in like so, and then I bring that knife blade in up here under it and carve up. You see that going over? Be careful because you don't want to hurt yourself. So again, I'm going to carve in like so, and then bring the tip of the knife blade up underneath all that right there, and then just stop cut into it. You see? Not hard. And I can do the same thing here in the bottom. The knife blade the direction, carve down, and carve right up to that. Carve down, right up to that, down. So I've worked that a little bit further in. I think that is probably enough. That's going to be a big, thick stem, and we don't have to have it as thick as that if we don't want to. We can thin it out, or we can leave it thick. I think that for this one, I like it thick. I'm just going to take these hard edges off for right now. Like that. And you can even thin it out here in the bottom if you want to. Make it come in a little bit. So do little V cuts right here, little stop cuts along the bottom to it coming in a little bit. Maybe it widens as it comes out of the pumpkin. That could be interesting, right? Like so, like that. Okay. Now we need to add that funky little swirly pattern to the middle. This is one of the spots where a V tool will really help you. So to show you how to start this, we could do it with a V tool. I'm going to show you how to do it with a V tool, but we can also do this with the knife. And what I would do is I would follow that line, having drawn it. I would just come through here like so, and I'd come the other direction, and I would V cut it, okay? A little V cut like that. And then I'd spend time deepening it. And I go around there like that. And then let's do it on up to there. I'll come back around here like that. And the deeper you get that in there, the better it's going to look. Now be careful here because you're drawing with the knife. You don't want to like push out too hard. Just use the tip and don't do the whole length all at once. Do a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. A little bit. And work your way around. Like so. Like so. And then take those hard corners off here if you don't like the way they look, you know. And spend your time cleaning that line up to make it look the way that you want it to look. And I'll tell you, the way to do that is to get deeper, but you can't go too deep all at once. You gotta kind of go back through it and deepen it, and then widen the channel out. And then clean up your lines. Come back through there, clean them up. Like, oh, it looks a little rough through here. What do I need to do to fix that? Well, I cut in this direction here. I cut in that direction there. A little bit at a time. Take your time. Don't rush it. Now that's something more advanced when it comes to knife work. And it was more work to do that without a V-tool than with a V-tool. So let's take a look at this with a V-tool, okay? Why do I think a V-tool is easier when I'm actually going to do it with a knife as well? Look at that. So I go up and in and around about like so. Okay. So I'm going to use this V-tool. I'm not going to use the whole thing, just to start it, okay? And just being able to pivot that around. Notice like the right hand isn't moving a whole lot here. I'm pivoting the tool, and the left hand is the one moving the carving pretty much. The right hand is just kind of angling things and nice and gentle. So I'm not shoving the V-tool, so to speak. That's how you want it getting injured. If it's not going good coming from one direction, go the other direction. Like so. Now, that is pretty simple. Even now, I still want to go back through there. But those lines look so much cleaner. It's a far cleaner starting point to deepen because of the V-tool than with the knife. And so it's going to look a little bit cleaner on this side than the other side, even though I'm going back into it right now with a knife, because I can use that channel in here and follow it around, because that V-tool is just so good at creating that channel. And look how much better that's going to look. So a V-tool, even though you wind up sometimes redoing things, it's not to redo it. The V-tool is piloting a course for you. It's showing you the way. And that knife blade can follow that channel it made so much easier. Look how much prettier that's going to look. I mean, it's going to be significant. That's a lot less work. So don't all the time get stuck trying to do things on hard mode and just do things with a knife only. You can carve and learn how to carve with a knife only, but that side looks better than this side. It was harder to do on this side because it was knife only. This side I did with a V-tool, and it's significantly easier and it looks better. So it's something to think about, right? And a V-tool, what, it's going to cost you 25 bucks. So if you want to get one, go for it. If you don't want to get one, don't get one. I'm not trying to sell you a V-tool right now. I'm just saying, like, it is going to be easier to learn how to carve, and you'll have better success if you've got some other tools, and that's one of those. I got a video on which tools to get past knife, so I wanted to show that to folks because I wanted to show you like how much easier it can be. And plus, if you're doing this and you've got V-tools, I want you to have carving videos so you can see, oh, well, that's where I can use this one, and that's where I can use that one. So, all right, now I'm going to be rounding this top of the pumpkin off here all the way around, just to bring that in to make it more pumpkin shape, right? And in this case, we're going to do a pumpkin shape kind of like an oval and not like a circle. Because we did a 4-inch block, we're going to make them a little bit taller, a little bit easier to get a face in on them. It's a little bit taller. So we're just rounding off these corners. We got a lot of rough section up here at the top, so we're going to clean that up as well while we're here. I'm just taking my time, working my way around and rounding that up. I'm recutting lines I've already cut because there's really rough cut marks all along the top of this guy in that end grain. And I'm just going to try to clean those up as best I can. Have you ever heard the saying, a good writer doesn't just write, he rewrites? It's the same thing with carving too. A good carver doesn't just carve, he recarves. He goes back in, or she goes back in, looks at the section they've already carved, and then fixes the parts that they look at and say, that's wrong, I could do that better. If you could do it better, go ahead and do it better. Get back in there, knock it out. You can do that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, so we like the way it's looking so far, but I need to round this bottom off. So let's go ahead and take a good 1/4 inch off the bottom. I'm going to use that paring cut. This is why you want to have that thumb wrap on the offhand too. And all I'm doing here, the right thumb is pushing on the carving, or pushing on the wood, and that knife is being brought in like this maneuver here, okay? Clenching in the fist, bringing it in like so. I show that a lot in a lot of these videos, but just bringing it in like that. I'm not losing control of the knife. It's not coming towards the thumb. That's the goal in this action here, okay? I'm not ripping the arm in, just moving the palm. Like so. And that gets a little bit more leverage when you're carving on ingrain, which is really difficult to carve ingrain. Ingrain is where you have to put a little bit more effort into something to get the same cut down, a little bit more oomph behind it, right? And that paring cut really helps you get it. So now I'm going to come back through, soften that hard corner all the way around, like so. And there we go, okay? Now, here, you're going to look at him, and he looks blocky looking at him straight on from any one side. But we can change that up a bit, okay? Let's say that, like this guy here, we carved him on the corner. Let's say we put the face right here, and we can change that and get him less blocky looking. So we're going to do that here in a moment. For now, let's figure out our mouth. Let's have our mouth come in the bottom half. So like this is the middle section of the carving right here, okay, of the pumpkin head itself, okay? So that's the middle. You don't have to put a line, I'm just using that for reference. So from that point, halfway down between that middle point, right about there, that's where the mouth is gonna go. And this mouth can be whatever you want it to be. You can have an overbite with some fangs. You can have an underbite with some big squarish teeth, and I really like the look of that. I like him, right, a lot. You can have these pointed teeth if you want to do like an eviler thing. You can give him sad eyes, like so in a minute, but like for the mouth right now, we're going to go with an underbite. I really like the look of an underbite. And I think we're going to go with those big squarish teeth. So I'm going to put a big square tooth coming up and over and down and up and over and down like so, okay? And then we come over to the side, a little bit more of an angle coming up, and then coming up like so, over, and then up, okay? I don't like the way that side here looks. Let's make it match a bit better. That's matching a bit better. Okay, and then a little jut in, okay? So that's going to be our mouth. That's a big, thick underbite. We'll worry about the eyes afterwards. For now, let's go ahead and set these teeth in. So to do that, I'm going to start along this line. Now, here's the thing. This interior section here, through here, through here, through here, is all lower than this section here. When we're carving this and we're going to be moving on one side, we want to carve downhill. So we want this, the section we're leaving up here, okay? All through here, all this section, that's what we're leaving. That's uphill, this down here is downhill. So if I'm going to carve downhill, I want to put my knife in here to put my stop cut in, and I'm going to angle the knife. The spine is going to be angled to the left a little bit. So the apex is going to the right. So I'm just shifting that blade a little bit. Now I'm going to sink that tip in right in that corner. I'm going to be mindful of where the back of that blade is going because I don't want to go past that line right there. And now I'm going to come and do this from the other direction. And this direction here, I'm angling the other way because downhill is the inside of the mouth there, right? And I put that knife in like so. And then I put a little bitty cut right there as well. And now I'm going to carve, well, I'll do a stop cut right here as well. And again, I'm angling the knife downhill to do that. So now I can come in and take that section out and stop cut it out. Okay? A little bit up to that line right there. Right like that. So we got the start of that jaw line in right there, okay? Now, we're going to put it in right here, angling it back because we're going to go downhill. Right there into the side of the mouth. Checking that out. Go along the top of that tooth, angling it so that the downhill section is angled out. We can put a lot of stop cuts in here. Same as we just did. Making sure you get right in the corners, making sure the back of your blade doesn't go past that line, and just make a bunch of stop cuts wherever you need to. We can carve down to that mouth, carve the inside section out of that mouth, the inside section out of that mouth. Now take a look at that cut real fast again, right? I use that left thumb here, and I pulled down on the knife. The right hand was just holding the knife in place while I did that. So I'm not pushing down towards my hand. That thumb, and if that thumb loses grip, it's not that much weight, it's not that much pressure. It's a very controlled action there. So that's the biggest thing with learning how to whittle, learning how to carve wood, is learning how to do it safely so you're not cutting yourself, so you're not injuring yourself, because it can absolutely be done without an injury. You can do this hobby without getting hurt. And that is my preference for you. I would prefer that you do this hobby without getting hurt. One more cut there, and one cut there. And then a little bit right at the top. Ah, that's so fun. I like it. Now, what we've got right now going on is something I want to point out here. See how the front of the head is coming out a little bit, right? That doesn't look that good to me. However, it could. Maybe you want that to come out. Maybe you like that look, that front of that head coming out, and that'll give you a little bit of whimsy. You can do it like that if you want to. Or what I'd like to do is I'd like to make this easier for us to carve the eyes on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve a couple of flat planes in here, okay? A couple of sections that are nice and wide for us to put eyes. And that will give the front of the carving a bit of a look too, like so. So you see obviously where our eyes are going to go. It's going to be real easy to carve our eyes into that plane. And it's also going to give him a bit of a look like he's got eye sockets kind of, right? I'm going to take that hard edge up the middle off, round that top corner up off a little bit like so. But those are some great eye planes. Now, before we carve those eyes in, I'd also like to take the squareness out of this pumpkin. We're going to bring the top of the pumpkin in and angle it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right down here where this jaw is, and I'm going to start taking this corner in significantly and rounding that up like so. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Take that in a good bit. And this is going to give us a pumpkin with a wider base and a softer, smaller top as it goes up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Like so. See how he's looking now? He's got like a fat bottom. Let's do the same thing in the back so it doesn't look lopsided. be mindful of, see I just cut that tip, that stem. Be mindful of that stem when you're working your way past here so you don't hit it like I just did. Don't make the mistakes that I make. Alrighty. Oh, he's gonna be a fun one. He's gonna be a fun one, I can tell right now. Okay, so we've got that section done. He's looking really good so far, and we just gotta add some detail. So what kind of eyes do we want to add? Well, let's look at the eyes real fast we got over here. You can see this guy's got some good evil eyes. Now with those big squarish teeth, I think that he needs eyes that are a bit more whimsical. Those are really easy shapes to do, and you can absolutely just Google pumpkin eyes, and you can find a bunch of variations of eyes that you might want to try. So if you want to do sad eyes, there's some sad eyes, right? The big thing here makes sad eyes is like the flat kind of upward swoop going toward the middle, where it's higher in the middle and lower on the outsides, and then just bring a loop down, and you can get some good sad eyes pretty easily there. Add a little bit of eyebrows angled upwards, and you really set in some emotion in that face. That's easy to do if you want a sad little pumpkin guy. He wants to be adopted, right? Take me home. That's what he's saying. Right? This guy here, he's goofy, and I love him probably best of all. I love this. Like, you can use any shape you want to. Like, that's a little, you know, you can use an octagon, you can use a pentagon, you can use a triangle and do that classic kind of shape. Whatever kind of shape that you want to use, pick some shapes. You can do like just like a little X there, like he's got a crossbones kind of thing going on. You know what? That X is probably the harder one to do. I'm going to show you how to do that X on one of these eyes. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's do the X on this side here. So what am I going to do the X? I'm going to do a V first. And that's going to determine the shape of this thing, okay? I want to make this V a 90-degree V, right? So it's just a, you know, a complete corner, so to speak. It's not less than. And then let me redo that to where both sides are at the same angle up. So bring this one down a little bit, and that one like so. Okay, so that's just a, you know, a 45, not a 45. 90 degree. That's just a 90-degree V, right? So now I can come down like the same quarter of an inch, and then come in, and now I'm going to try to replicate that corner, or this side here, go the same width over, and then come in, and this guy here, replicating that line, like so. Okay, so we drew that big X in. That's pretty nice. That's pretty easy. And on this side, we could just, you know, can make them a little goofy if we wanted to just do a semi-circle or just a small circle, right? That could be one look, you know. We could do a bigger circle over here. Give them a big eye, you know, if we wanted to. What else could we do? We could, you know, I kind of like the idea of the little circle. So we could just do that, just a simple little circle on that side, and that'd be, that's a fun look. I like that. Why not? Okay, that's what we're going to do. All right. Now, this is the section where it might be easier to do with a detail knife. I'm not going to use a detail knife, though. I'm just going to use this knife here. Now, this is the same thing we were just doing down here, where the X, this is all downhill, and this on the outside is all uphill. So every carving we want to do, every line, we want to make sure we're angled with the back of our blade in a little bit. Why am I doing that? Because it looks a little bit cleaner than if you got a really hard line coming straight down whenever you finish this, like so. So you see how each line is kind of going downhill in? It looks a little bit softer that way, and it's a little bit easier on the eye. Those too hard of an angles from going straight in at a, you know, at a 90-degree angle every time, it just looks a little unnatural the wrong way. Just making the stop cuts as I go around into each corner, but making sure the back of the blade doesn't go past that back edge. And now I'm going to try to work this knife up in there and under there and curve it around to get that whole section. So in and back, and pop it out. That it may take some practice. You may have to do that a few times to get it done just right, okay? I'll show you again. Tip of the knife going in there, back of the blade out a little bit, and I come down. Same thing over here, tip of the knife in, back of the blade out a little bit, come down. Now we do this corner here, and while we're doing that, we're making sure the back edge of that blade didn't go past our line. Flip it around, same thing over here, push that in, make sure the back of that blade doesn't go past that line, and then we're going to carve like this right here in there, okay? But I'm going to make sure that tip goes down to that corner and then comes over that way. Down to that corner, over that way, and pop it out. Not too bad, not too shabby. One more time. There. 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 And there. Now we're going to pop it out. Ooh, I went a little deeper that time. So just stop cuts again. See, I didn't come out. Let's redo it. Oh, there we go. And then if you need to clean up those lines, go back in there, clean them up. I don't like the way that's so thin right there. I'm gonna take that down a little bit. I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, all right, so we got that big square, that big cross eye. I love that eye. I think it's fantastic. All right, so now we're gonna do that circle eye. An easy way to do this might be take that V tool back out and then draw that circle nice and gentle, and that'll allow you to pilot a smoother line that we can then go back into with the knife. Like so, you see? Now we want to set that center part here in and be lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just the tip of the knife, and I'm not going to go in very deep. All I'm doing is following that channel and putting the tip maybe a 1/16 of an inch in, not very deep. Okay? And then I come from that center section here, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a cross on this eye. From that middle point, that's where my blade's going to be coming out of this at, as I carve across, okay? Every time I do this, that blade's going to be coming out at that middle section. Carve down, carve over. If you need to recut that outer line, recut that outer line. And if you do this right, that center section will be a little bit higher than the outside. So it'll be kind of protruding out a little bit. You can kind of see that there. It creates an interesting look. Now I can redo an interior line if I need to. Run that knife back through there. Clean that circle back up. It's not easy making something circular with a flat blade, but it can be done. And that doesn't look too bad, I think. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, actually. So I like the way he looks. I like the way he's turning out. You can take off those pencil marks too, just like so. The other thing too is we can add a little bit more, a little bit more personality to him if we want to. Just take this V tool and carve in and out, and we can add a little brow line, right, like so. Give a little personality. Now we need to add ridges to our pumpkin. So what are we gonna do? Well, coming right out of the middle, down the middle of the face, we'll need something there. Continue that down here, okay? On the exact opposite other side of the carving, this is going to be the back of the head here. And we want one at each of the cardinal points and between the cardinal points. So on the left side and the right side, put those there of the head. Split the difference right between the back, right there, and right there as well. And we want to do that in the front too, but this face is kind of in the way. So we'll do a little bit of a line here and stop before we get to the eyebrow, and then down here underneath the mouth. So down here underneath the mouth and right there on top of the head. We're outside of all the rest of that stuff. So that's what we're going to do, okay? Back to the V tool. And again, like real fast, you don't have to use the V tool. What you can do is you can just do V cuts like this, okay? You can absolutely do this with V-cuts if you want to, and you can draw the knife down and do longer ones. You can do however you want to. It's easier, I think, to do it with a V-tool and go through here and do this line once and then come back in and widen it with a knife. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take this V-tool and go around. I'm going to sink all of those in with the knife, or with the V-tool first. Starting in the middle here in these bigger lines. So this bigger line there, I started down here because going downhill this direction, I don't want to catch into the grain. That grain's traveling up and down, right? So when I'm going downhill, I want to be going with the grain there. If I go up here, I won't be catching the grain from this angle because going downhill as I go up. You follow? When I say downhill, picture it like like you're petting a dog's hair. That's where the wood grain's working. If I pet with the grain or with the dog's hair, it smooths down. If I go the opposite direction, I'm catching that hair and roughs it up. Same thing right there. So if I'm going downhill, I can carve this direction right up into the stem. And then for this section here where it starts to transition the other direction, I carve this way, like so. There's that line right there. Like so. And now carve up like that. And carve up right here as well. Okay. Oh, we forgot that guy right there in the middle. Right there. Right there. Absolutely. Okay, so he's really starting to take shape now. Now you could be done here if you wanted to. I don't like the look of that. It's too hard of an edge. What I'd like to do is I'd like to come back in here and I'd like to take that hard corner off of the outside edges of that V-tool right here. And again, I'm going to be carving, being mindful of the grain. So I'm going halfway up in this direction. This other one, halfway up. I'm only doing one side of these right now. I'll have to turn it around to get the other side. Like so. So we got all that section. Now, we'll do the other direction on the bottom half. By softening these sides of that V cut like that, I'm creating more facets to catch the paint, more sections that just going to add a little bit more whimsy, a little bit more flair, some more lines in the carving. Right now we're going to work on the top half. So the bottom half that's been done to, and you can see how much more, many more facets there are. It looks more interesting there. Okay, so top section, same thing. Do one side, and we'll flip it over, and we'll do the other side. That's the left side of the line. That's top corner. Now we're going to do the other direction. And one more right there. I think that was all of those. Yeah. So on each of these where they connect up here to the stem, what I want to do for these ones is I want to deepen that a little bit to make sure it meets right up to the stem. It's up to you if you feel like you need it on your carving. If you do, go for it. Obviously, I'm skipping some of them because I don't think all of them need it, but some of them definitely do. Just little V cuts up into there. I think that's fantastic. So yeah, There we go. Now, what else can we do to him? Well, if we want to, we can make this this stem have a little bit more flair. You can see this one here, I kind of like scooped in around there, just to add a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of, you know, something else to it. You can try to do that if you want to. Just kind of round that in like so. Little swooping cuts. And we'll do on this plane here. Like so. Doing the top one now. And then we'll do this outside one right here. Like so. And so that adds a little bit more something to it, right? And maybe that bottom right here is too wide for you. If it's too wide, you can still come in here. You can undercut that, bring it back in. If something's too big, you can always take more off of it. You don't have to leave it. Even if I left it and you don't like the look of it, fix it. Remove it, go back in there, and do what you need to do to take care of it, you know? But I think that, honestly, for me, he looks pretty good. I think that he's a win. I think that we enjoy him. I think that he's going to look fantastic on the table next to the front door, guarding our home from those dangerous trick-or-treaters that will be invading our home come the end of October. All right, let's talk about painting and how to get that look that I got in these other guys real fast. To paint these guys, I'm using two colors primarily, a darker orange, a burnt sienna, and a lighter orange, a sunset gold. It doesn't matter which colors you use, just use a darker orange about this shade and a lighter orange as well. And I'm gonna put this on really watered down and just slop it on the whole thing except the stem. I'm lazy and I'm not that clean of a painter, so because I don't want to wait, I'm going to hair dry it to get it all dried completely before I move on to the sunset gold. I'm going to use a 1/2-inch oval mop paintbrush because I like the way that it does dry brushing. And for dry brushing, this is actually pretty easy. You fill the mop up with as much paint as you can and then you wipe it clean on a paper towel. You keep wiping until you see it's not coming off like really thick. It just starts kind of coming off like this right here, which is barely coming off. And then you test it in the spot on the carving and you see how it looks. And that right there is exactly what I'm looking for. And you just do this to the whole thing. And that's what creates this unique effect, this multi-layered look of lighter orange on top and the darker orange underneath, and it really turns out great. If you are a little too careless in your painting and you get paint in places where it shouldn't be, just take a knife, carve it off real quick, and it won't be a problem. For the eyes, I'm just using black paint, nothing complicated, so I don't think you need to go into too much detail here, just black paint in those areas. And then for the stem, I'm just using black walnut Danish oil. And you can see I'm holding the carving upside down because that Danish oil is likely going to run, and as it does, I want it to drip onto the table and not onto the freshly painted portion of the pumpkin that I just done. And that's all I got for today in this video, folks. I really appreciate your time. Listen, if you have questions about any of this, about the way any of this works, or about what to do or how to do it, ask in the comment section down below. I am the sort that answers questions, and I really appreciate it. Outside of that, though, head over to Instagram, Facebook, give me a like and a follow over there. Say thank you to our Patreon subscribers. They are really helping me out, and it's been fantastic. The community that we started to develop over on Patreon is just really, oh my God, I love it so much. I really do. I find myself going to the chat hoping someone says something or asks something just because I'm enjoying the give and take over there so much. It's a lot of fun. And so I'm going to keep working and putting things up there. I think I'm going to make that Patreon kind of like a more of a daily vlog kind of thing too, and include the stuff that I'm working on, how I'm doing it, what my thought process is behind what I've got going on for the other various projects that I'm doing outside of just making content for the videos, because I'm always carving, I'm always making all kinds of fun things. And if you want to know more about it or more about what I'm making and how I'm doing it, that might be a way that you can do it over there too. And most of the content over there is free if you come over. It's just the videos that I do on like how to do certain things. Those might cost the paid membership, which is like $1.50 a month if you want to take part. So if you want to take part in that, head over there. And if not, don't even worry about it. It's just fine. But outside of that, I really appreciate your time. So thank you to these folks that comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time.